A soft, piercing cry echoed from the hospital room, signaling the arrival of Vivian's newborn baby boy. Overjoyed, Vivian held her precious child, fulfilling her longing for a son. Meanwhile, Leo, Vivian's husband, received the news in his office. Elated, he rushed out, excitement radiating from his face as he exclaimed, "Vivian has given me a bouncing baby boy." He hailed a taxi, eager to join his family when a speeding chariot hits Leo, taking his life instantly. Vivian waited anxiously for her husband's arrival, but hours passed with unsettling silence. Her excitement turned to worry, sensing something terrible had happened. The devastating news arrived, shattering Vivian's world. Leo was killed in a truck accident. Shock and grief overwhelmed her, refusing to accept the reality. Days turned into an endless blur of tears, mourning the loss of her partner, and the future they had envisioned together. Vivian's world crumbled. Her baby boy, Leonardo, became her sole source of strength. She struggled to balance grief and motherhood. Days turned into weeks. Vivian's friends and family rallied around her, offering support. Sophia, Vivian's best friend, took on a nurturing role, helping with her son's care. Vivian's mother, Rachel, moved in temporarily, providing emotional stability. As Vivian navigated this new reality, she discovered Leo had left behind, but yet she refused to believe it that she would be left alone without someone to love her. Leo, before he died, made sure he left some good amount of money and some few investment, securing their financial future. Leo had a small book where he always wrote about how lovely she is and how much he loved her, how he expected to see their son when he is finally born. Each time Vivian read this journal, tear rolled down her cheek. She missed her husband so much. Determined to honor Leo's legacy, Vivian named her son after Leo, her late husband, opened a children's library in his memory, and started a support group for widows. Leonardo grew up, unaware of the father he'd never know, yet Vivian shared stories about him to her son, keeping Leo's memory alive. Years passed. Vivian's heart healed, but the scar remained. One day, Leonardo, now 15, began experiencing strange occurrences, vivid dreams and unexplained abilities. At nights Leo would always wake up screaming as he had seen a ghost, and this continued for days. Even his mom became so scared that she was willing to welcome anyone with a solution to her son's problem, as she was scared of losing another person that means the world to her. One evening Vivian was returning back home from the market when an old man met her, and forcefully dragged her by the hand into a lonely corner. "My name is Gregor," he introduced himself. He had a brown hat on with his fray-looking coat. Meanwhile he spoke like he was being chased by someone, so he hurriedly handed a portion to Leo. This should help him regain his sanity, and make sure her drinks everything and chews the leaf inside of it. And last one, we never met. Vivian was distracted by a noise at the market side, but when she turned, she couldn't find the old man anymore. She was scared and confused at the same time, but she had no option but to follow the instructions given to her by the old man. On getting home, she noticed the front door to her home was swung open. As she approached closer to the door, her heart began to beat. Immediately she ran up to Leo's room to check on her son, but he wasn't there. Her heart raced faster as she screamed her son's name but got no response. Vivian broke down and started to cry. She felt she had lost her son, who meant everything to her. Vivian could not sleep as she kept on the search for Leo. She was very broken-hearted as to the disappearance of her son. She went to her mom's place to check if he had gone there as he usually did. But Grandma Felicia became more worried on hearing that her grandson was missing. She could not breathe and immediately went for her inhaler. So Vivian and Grandma Felicia together they searched for Leo, but all their efforts was futile. They searched the forest all night. Because they were far from home, they had to sleep in the woods. While they were sleeping, they heard some footsteps approaching towards their direction. So they quickly woke up and hid in the woods. Since it was still dark, they were not able to be spotted. Some men could be seen passing by on a chariot with children, boys and girls inside a cage, so they decided to trail and see where they were headed to. At a point the chariot stopped and suspected that they followed, but Vivian and Grandma Felicia were smart enough to hide before the bandits began searching the place for any stranger. But after a while of failed search, they continued their journey. Grandma Felicia became tired and weak due to the short night and long walks they took, but yet she was determined to search for her grandson Leo. Leo cried so much because he knew how worried both his mom and grandma would be. So finally the chariot stopped and they decided to take a rest. Unfortunately they all slept off as they were really tired from traveling a very long journey. As they were all sleeping, Vivian quickly took the keys to the cage from the sleeping men. As she got closer to the cage, she found Leo and other younger children, still wide awake as they were scared to even take a nap. She quickly unlocked the cage and quietly let all the children out, and they moved without a noise so as to remain undetected by the men. They followed on the path with thick bush so as to confuse the men about their whereabouts. Some hours later when the men woke up, the children were already gone. They were so furious and immediately began search, dividing themselves into different groups so as to spread and catch up with them quickly. After hours of several searches, their efforts were without any results, so they all to spend some days with hopes that they might somehow see something that would help them catch the missing kids. So they spent some days in a nearby town, a very busy town filled with merchants and travelers. Out of all the kids, they were more interested in Leo. Their leader specifically asked for Leo to be brought to him alive. He knew about the powers Leo possessed and wanted to take it away from him. But Leo's mom knew Leo was specifically in trouble, but did not know exactly why they wanted him. Days passed. Leo and the other kids remained hidden so as not to expose them to any potential danger. Vivian one day went to get food for the children. So on getting to the place in the market, she began to bargain for a huge amount of food supply and explained to the seller how she had many kids to feed so as to land at a better price. Unknowingly to her, one of the bandits heard her speaking with the seller and immediately suspected that she could have been with kids, so he immediately followed her to know where she lived. But Vivian noticed she was being followed and confused the man by taking a different route, so he lost her and went home. As soon as Vivian got home, she told Grandma Felicia about the incident at the market, so they began to make provisions in order to leave the town and relocate to a different place that felt safer for them. So as soon as the man got to his men, he also told them about the incident, so they all kept an eye, but since they did not know who the woman was, they could not know exactly how to find her, so it made them even more frustrated. Meanwhile Vivian and the children ran out of food supply and had only little money left with them. So Vivian decided to sell her gold jewelries that she had won, as she thought to herself, of what use are jewelries in the face of calamity, so she sold her expensive gold jewelries and got plenty money to sustain for months. Vivian, after selling her jewelries, she went back to the seller she bought food from. This time around she bought more food supply than before. Everyone could see her struggle with the loads, but it was a marketplace, so no one really cared. The bandits, because they stayed close to the market, were in a position to notice whatever happens easily. So the same man who saw her the other day, saw her again and immediately ran to her and offered to help her with the loads. The unsuspecting Vivian welcomed the kind gesture and was willing to accept his help. So they both began to have a conversation, and he asked her why is she buying so much food as if she was hosting a party somewhere, so she laughed and answered and replied that she has so many children to feed. On hearing this, the man became more inquisitive and asked how she managed to cater for them all alone without the help of her husband, and she told him that her husband has passed away and she is left with no choice than to carry the loads all alone. So the man continued to ask her, but you are too young to have so many children at a very young age, how possible? So she was about to say the children were not all hers, but were kidnapped children, but then realized it could endanger the children and abruptly ended the conversation and told the man that she would love to end the journey and thanked him for his help. Vivian got home and was worried who the man was, cause at the moment no one was to be trusted. So she remained indoors for days so as to limit contact with anyone at the moment. So the bandits started to plot on how to find where she lived in order to check if she had the children, but they couldn't. Vivian was always a step ahead of them. Leo's nightmares began again, and this time around was very much severe than his last experience. She began to worry, then she remembered her encounter with the old man and the thing he gave to her to give to Leo, but then she realized that she had left it at home before going to look for Leo. She had to go home to get the portion for Leo, but at the same time, she was scared that something bad may happen to the kids if she left them, just like when she left Leo to the market before. He went missing, but she had no other choice. So she asked every one of them to never step outside until she returns, and not open for anyone who knocks. So she hired a horse, set off for her hometown to get the portion. So as she set for the journey, the men followed her as they saw her come to the market to rent a horse. She did not notice she was being followed, so she rode for 4 days, When she got home, she quickly grabbed the portion and set back to where the children were. As the men saw the house she went into, immediately they recalled that was the same place they abducted Leo, so they kept hidden and wondered what she went to pick up. They kept on following her so as to lead them to where the children are. As Vivian rode back, she noticed so many horses' prints and suspected she was being followed, so immediately, she rode through a different direction and confused them. When she got back she went home and everyone was all right, so immediately she gave Leo the portion and he did as the old man instructed. After taking the portion, Leo fell into a very deep sleep for more than 24 hours, and this made Vivian so scared that she began to cry and wished she had not given him the portion to drink at all in the first place. After some few moments into the long time Leo had slept off, he woke up and Vivian quickly ran to him. Then he asked his mom why he had no nightmares this time around but slept so peacefully, but yet his mom could not answer him as she hugged him so passionately with tears in her eyes. She exclaimed, "My son, I love you." Immediately after she hugged him, Leo had an instant shock on his body. He became so stiff with his head facing up and his eyes wide open as if he was looking up to the ceiling. Leo could see images in form of flashes as if he could see into the future. In his vision he saw some men riding on horses heading towards their direction. Immediately Leo fell down back to the bed panting like he has been chased by a wild bear. He got up and sat close to his mom and said, "Mom, they are coming." "Who are coming?" the mother asked. "The bandits are coming and this time around they will burn down this house, kill everyone in it and take me alone." Vivian was scared but strong, so she immediately assembled everyone, but did not know where to escape to with everyone, so Leo asked them to divide into 3 groups so as not to draw attention as they moved away. They had a plan to all meet at the riverbank and cross it by foot when the water must have flowed away. So they did just as planned. Before the bandits came, they had already left. After a short while after they left, the bandits got the house and discovered that everyone had gone, so they angrily burnt down the house. They said to themselves, "Master will kill us if we return without the young boy. If we keep on the search, we might catch up with them. They might not have gone far on foot," so they rode towards the river. Across the river is a very big town with so many people who live closely to each other, and this made it very safe for people to live as everyone was surrounded by neighbors. The name of this place is Hercules Town. Immediately they got into this city, Leo had another shock again. Immediately he fell down to his knees with his head looking to the heavens and his eyes wide open just like the previous vision he had. He saw terror fall upon the Hercules Town. The bandits from afar could see them going into the town, but they couldn't go into Hercules Town because they were banned from ever going in there. So they went back to their own town and reported back to their master Duncan, the bringer of terror, the wealthiest man in the town of the Western Duke. Duncan was a man to be feared. He was feared even more than the king sometimes. He had the power to make darkness fall. So when Duncan got the news about the boy, he began preparation on how to get Leo peacefully or by war. So he asked his men to get ready for a serious mission that would change the world and give him power like no one else has ever had. Duncan intends to take Leo's power before he discovers all his powers and masters them.